Hi, and welcome to the summary and analysis of Romeo and Juliet, Act 1, Scene 1. If you're an educator, don't miss my Teaching Romeo and Juliet series, which is a whole other thing also on this website. Finally, this is not a spoiler-free video, fair warning. But if you're good to go, then hide in your room and cry about virgins as we dive into Romeo and Juliet, Summary and Analysis, Act 1, Scene 1. So this play begins with two guys we will never see again, engaging in 40 lines worth of wordplay. It's not totally without value, but parsing all these arcane references takes us so deep for so little payoff that I'm skipping it for this video. If you want to go deep down that particularly nerdy rabbit hole, check out Act 1, Scene 1, Samson and Gregory. It's the next video, but also trust me when I say it's real skippable. Anyway, these two guys, Samson and Gregory, are Capulet thugs, and they are out on the streets of Verona, talking a big game about how they're not punks. Predictably, along come some Montague servants whom they insult by biting their thumbs, which apparently was a thing. After some back and forth, everybody draws swords and they have a big old fight. Nobody on stage matters so far, but the commotion brings two who do. Benvolio Montague, who is nephew to Mr. Montague and Romeo's cousin, and Tybalt, who is nephew to Mr. Capulet and Juliet's cousin. Benvolio tries to stop fighting by drawing his sword to part the combatants, but Tybalt responds awesomely with what? Drawn and talk of peace? I hate the word, as I hate hell, all Montagues, and thee. Have at thee, coward. So that's fantastic. The disturbance is so great, citizens of Verona come in with clubs to beat everybody up. Then old Mr. Capulet and Montague show up along with their wives, and finally the Prince of Verona himself, the ultimate authority, turns up and he says enough. This is the third time this nonsense has happened. I'm done, and the next person to disturb the peace will be tortured and killed. So he's pretty over it. The action from here sticks with Benvolio, who checks in with Big Daddy Montague and his wife, Lady Montague. Lady Montague asks after her son Romeo, saying, "Right glad I am that he was not at this fray." So, as luck would have it, Benvolio has seen Romeo. "Madam, the hour before the worshipped sun peered forth the golden window of the east, a troubled mind drove me to walk abroad, where, underneath the grove of sycamore, so early walking did I see your son. Toward him I made, but he was ware of me, and stole into the covert of the wood." But hiding in the forest is not the only thing our little buddy has been up to. Big Daddy Montague picks up the tale from there. He says, "Many a morning hath he there been seen, with tears augmenting the fresh morning's dew. But also soon as the all-cheering sun should in the furthest east begin to draw," so when the sun comes up, "away from light steals home my heavy son, and private in his chamber pens himself, shuts up his windows, locks fair daylight out, and makes himself an artificial night." So he's roaming around all night and then he hides during the daylight hours. Totally possible that Romeo is a vampire. So just then Benvolio sees our depressed boy coming around the corner and he vows to figure out what's troubling him. The parents peace out and Benvolio gets right to it by asking Romeo, what sadness lengthens Romeo's hours? Not having that which having makes them short. In love? Out. Of love? Out of her favor where I am in love. Okay, her refused to a woman we will never actually meet in the play. Her name is Rosaline, and Romeo has a lot of feelings about her. He expresses his mixed up feelings through contradictions that read frankly like bad melodramatic poetry. Oh brawling love, oh loving hate, oh anything of nothing first created. Oh heavy lightness, serious vanity, mishap and chaos of well-seeming forms, feather of lead, bright smoke, cold fire, sick health, still wax and sleet. That's not what it is. So do you see what he did there? He found opposites and then he put them together. It's insights like that that keep my audience coming back. Like and subscribe. Finally, the contradictions progress to full-on disassociation when Romeo says, "Tut, I have lost myself. I am not here. This is not Romeo. He is some other where." Benvolio keeps after him, saying, "Tell me in sadness," which in this case means like in all seriousness, or better yet, like with sobriety. "Who is that you love?" Romeo screws around a bit longer before the stunning admission, "In sadness, cousin, I do love a woman." But it turns out Rosaline is not just any woman. As Romeo is happy to tell us, she is a stone-cold hottie with only one problem. She has sworn to die a virgin. Benvolio can't hardly believe it. "Then she hath sworn that she will live chaste?" "She hath, and in that sparing makes huge waste. For beauty starved with her severity cuts beauty off from all posterity." So because she can't have babies and pass her babies on, it's cut off from posterity. "She's too fair, too wise, wisely too fair to merit bliss by making me despair. She has forsworn to love, and in that vow do I live dead that live to tell it now." So Romeo, I'm gonna level with you. she doesn't sound like that much fun. You may have dodged a bullet here. There's nothing wrong with being a virgin, but swearing for life? Maybe keep your options open? I don't know. Adolescence is terrible. Benvolio tries a direct attack. Be ruled by me. Forget to think of her. How? By giving liberty unto thine eyes. Examine other beauties. Go check out the other fly Veronan honeys. But Romeo doesn't want to hear that. He goes full on emo. He says that any other woman would only make him think of Rosaline's beauty more, and he would rather just go home and stay in his room and be forever depressed over the perma-virgin. In our first scene, we find him to be tragic, dramatic, depressed, into bad poetry, contradictions, and possibly a vampire. And that's the summary. So if we really want to understand Shakespeare, we got to dig a little deeper than just plot. Let's do a little analysis. So Shakespeare doesn't screw around at the top of his play. He wanted to grab our attention and quick. It is not very long between, hey, check out these two dudes, to full-on riot in the streets. And just in case your attention span is real low, he fills that not very long with threats, bravado, and not a few sex jokes. What Shakespeare is doing here is quickly establishing all the background we need to understand this world. In this first scene, we get to see how the grudge between these two families have permeated every level of society. From the street-brawling thugs and servants, up through the captains and the extended family members, and clear to the patriarchs themselves. But while these families certainly have reach, they are not the ultimate authority in Verona. We understand quickly that it's the prince who holds power of life and death over everyone. And we can see this not only in his vow upon pain of death, but also in the way even the servants are really careful to stay on the right side of the law. It's how we end up with the line, "No, sir, I do not bite my thumb at you, sir, but I bite my thumb, sir." That is walking a tightrope. Also, 3 sirs in one sentence? These are very polite, murderous a-holes. When Benvolio arrives, he shows himself to be reasonable and interested in peace. Shakespeare tipped us off with his name. It means goodwill or well-wisher. He shares a prefix kind of with benevolent, beneficial, benefactor. In many ways, he's the opposite of another Shakespearean character, the ill-fated and ultimately pitiable Malvolio, who's the really fun antagonist in Twelfth Night. Tybalt, however, is not about that goodwill. He comes around the corner, sees a Montague with a sword, takes offense, and goes straight to, "I would like to murder you now." The guy's got no brakes. Tybalt answers insults. That will come up later. Between the thumb biting and the brawl and Tybalt, we are introduced to a major theme you should keep an eye on, and that is masculine honor. Now, in our modern media, we get the idea that manly men are stoic. We are hard, unemotional, and difficult to anger or excite. The quintessential lone dude movie. Listen, we just want to live our life alone, quiet on a farm or whatever, and then along come the bad guys and they kill our puppy and or wife, and then it is on. And for the next 2 hours, it's just killing people that the script leaves unnamed. But in Shakespeare, men are not like that. We are sensitive, even fragile when it comes to our ego. Insults and transgressions, verbal or physical, must be answered. Honor demands it. We are very delicate. I demand satisfaction. Finally, let's get to Romeo. And there's no real nice way to say this. He kind of sucks. The kid is lovesick, mopey, spouting bad poetry, and ostensibly in love with the only girl for miles he can't have by freaking definition. I'm not trying to Psych 101 this kid, but his misery sure seems real self-inflicted. And it's hard to know what to do with Rosaline as well. She never even shows up on stage. In fact, a bunch of characters will think that Romeo is in love with her even after the play ends, and everyone is dead. They'd be like, Juliet who? It occurs to me I haven't said this yet. Everyone dies. That's what a Shakespeare tragedy is. But I think I do know what Shakespeare is up to here. By showing this kid as, honestly, disgustingly in love with the perma-virgin, it serves to ultimately heighten Juliet. When Romeo lays eyes on her and we watch every thought of Rosaline obliterated in an instant, we are left, like Romeo, in awe of Juliet. We are forced to conclude that she is special and that their love is so instantly pure that it is, perhaps, worth dying for. Which, I want to be clear, they do. And that's Act 1, Scene 1. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out the complete summary and analysis and teaching series, Teaching Unit, available now, all of it, onedayahead.com. Next time, we head to Act 1, Scene 2. We'll see you next time on One Day Ahead.